Do you still feel empty inside and you are searching for your happiness? I'm so glad you're here. Subscribe to my channel. The first stage, the alarm clock or wake-up call. In this stage, many experience what I did. They have achieved everything externally, yet they haven't found happiness. Life has been a performance, lived through the mind, through the ego, and through external expectations. You've been looking for fulfillment outside of yourself, chasing various things. While you may have found moments of joy and great experiences, it still feels like something is missing, and an emptiness gnaws inside. Another way this starts is through a significant loss. This leads you to seek a solution, to rise above it, and to survive. Through that process, spiritual awakening begins, and you find your own consciousness. Examples include losing your health, the death of a loved one, or intense crises in relationships, such as a divorce, a partner suddenly leaving, the breakdown of a family, or a loved one's illness. Financial difficulties like bankruptcy or losing a job can also be triggers. Something significant happens in a major area of life where you feel you have no power. It happens to you from the outside, leading to a sense of losing control. These events may happen close together or even overlap. First, you begin to feel that emptiness and that there must be something more to life. Then, a powerful crisis hits. Later, you realize these things happened for a reason. We create our own reality. The crisis is the cherry on top where the universe says, "Wake up now." You created it yourself. It happens to you intentionally and has meaning. We are being shaken constantly, so we realize it's time to wake up. It is your best decision to start that path and start searching. If you face this crisis, you might have been satisfied with your life until it hit. At this stage, some become depressed or paralyzed, but many start searching, and it acts as a catalyst. What you learn from this stage is the nature of the ego. The ego performs, has demands, and tries to fulfill expectations. That is the ego's way of living. It is our mind's way of living. Our consciousness begins to whisper that there is something more. We have been aware of what has happened in our lives all along, but that consciousness starts to push through and speak louder. Hey, there's something more here. The universe gives signs, so you start looking for what's there. There are 6 stages, and they partially overlap. I'll tell you about each stage based on my own experience so you have a point of reference. Share your own experiences in the comments. It helps us all grow. The second stage, the seeker's stage. In this stage, you realize there is something more and you start searching wildly. You go through techniques and methods, start reading, and searching for the answer. Some take a scientific, rational approach. Others take a more alternative or spiritual approach through crystals, numerology, or astrology. The paths are diverse. There are also hybrid paths. Many who were very rational and lived calculated lives start looking into the spiritual side as well, opening up to the idea that there might be something wonderful there. This stage is usually done intensely alone because you don't quite know what you're looking for. But you also start seeking the company of like-minded people to reflect with. You seek out the experiences of others and search for the truth, the one solution that explains everything. Among rational methods, psychology is one. For example, attachment theory, emotional blockages, and personality traits. Much comes from behavioral sciences and neurology. In sports, mental coaching is used, which is often very close to this topic, using tested psychological and spiritual methods like mindfulness. I went through everything from science to spiritualism and combined them. A big stumbling block here is getting stuck in the searching, looping in this stage endlessly without going deep enough. I had some of this myself. I moved from one topic to another, thirsty for knowledge, almost not finishing anything. Looking back, I could have stayed with some things longer, but the journey belongs to each of us. Another stumbling block is finding someone else's truth. If someone claims they have the only solution and you follow it literally, you might get stuck repeating their truth instead of waking up yourself. My realization from this stage was that there isn't just one tool. There is no single right way. We each give ourselves permission to wake up through the tools we choose, be it tarot cards, crystals, psychology, or even staring at a black dot on a wall. Let's not judge each other's tools. The third stage, the stage of realization. This is where you go through the black mist and reach the dark night of the soul. This is the most grueling and painful stage. At this point, you've used tools to scratch the surface and you start to see what it will take to arrive. In this stage, most of us lose ourselves momentarily. We drop away everything we previously used to identify with this world. The power of the mind, the ego, and materialism. You have to give up your old reality. You have to shed your skin and leave the old self behind, accepting that you lived that way until now, but you don't want to do it anymore. This is when traumas, subconscious beliefs, and patterns appear. They are slammed in your face, and you have to face them. At this stage, you need support. I encourage you to push through like a bull. It starts to get much easier after that. The dominant state is the pain of letting go of the old self, so the authentic self can emerge. This is a very spiritual and bodily experience. Find ways in your toolkit to ease your state. Things like music, art, being in nature, or singing. It's important to have a safe haven. Has anyone found their own stage yet? The fourth stage, emptiness and neutrality. This is the aftermath of throwing your old self away. You understand what this is about now? Consciousness is there, but it cannot yet come through purely because the mind's habits are still strong. You aren't stable yet. The old identity is crumbling, but the new, true you hasn't become permanent. It is a silence in the mist that sometimes screams loudly. You might revisit the dark night feelings. Think of it like the Bates Motel from the movie Psycho. If you spent your dark night there before, now you just have a new reservation. You can visit during the day or stay the night if you didn't get enough the first time. But the second stay is different. It's almost comical. You start to see the humor in repeating these patterns. Uncomfortable feelings still rise, but they no longer take power over you in the same way. You can stop and realize, I am not my ego or these thoughts. As you move forward, the tools change. You find new ones more easily or develop your own. You often know what works for you now. The pull back to the old ways is still powerful because everything is becoming new. We can't always free ourselves physically from everything at once, which makes the process difficult. The ego is a slimy character that tries until the very end. But it is wonderful because it creates this human experience for us. You just have to tell it, be quiet. I'm not listening to you anymore. Time begins to lose its meaning. Happiness doesn't come from the physical world, but from your authentic essence. You realize that past and future are just labels. Everything happens in the now. This creates huge freedom. There are no mistakes or ghosts of the past. You are safe in this moment. The fifth stage, awakening and integration. At this stage, you start to stay more in that consciousness. The space between yourself and the ego is formed so that the ego no longer has power over you. You understand the dualism within, the ego and the consciousness. You no longer react through traumas. Patterns dissolve on their own. You realize that nobody is lacking anything. Everything comes from within. The external world is a mirror. The more purely you radiate your authentic consciousness, the more wonderful things you experience. I am currently wavering between the fourth, fifth, and sixth stages. I am mostly in the fifth, but I still fight battles with the ego as the last bits are cleaned out. I can now stop before every action and reaction. I no longer just react. The sixth stage, the stage of conscious creation. We are fully that consciousness. We live fully consciously and enjoy it with all our hearts. We don't have to worry. We see clearly when the egos of others are speaking, but it doesn't bother us. Usually, life has changed so radically that your environment now supports this new level of consciousness. You are completely at peace with yourself and your human experience. Time and place have lost their governing significance. You live in this moment, conscious of yourself. After this comes the stage of enlightenment, where we eventually cease to exist in physical form and become pure energy. What thoughts did this evoke? You are everything that is needed. You are the best thing that can happen to you. Life doesn't happen to you, but for you. Let's start living mindlessly.